Welcome. It is 1:22. I call the Public Affairs Committee meeting to order. And I guess it's the protocol that to call the roll? 12:22. What did I say? That's the time I have to leave. That's the time I have to leave. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. The agenda call says that I have to call the roll, do a roll call. Joan Hancock.
Here.
Bob Lamb.
Here.
Ed Lang.
Here.
Nancy Singer. Here. Thank you very much, and welcome staff and guests for this meeting today. And I also, before we get going, I would like to introduce the new staff member to the Public Affairs unit, Ashley. Ashley, do you want to come over here and just give us a little background on yourself? I'm sure there's no problem since you're an information officer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Caldwell. I'm the new information officer, multimedia specialist in public affairs. As for my media background, I've worked at Good Day Sacramento and CBS 13 here locally, and for state service, I worked at the CDCR press office.
Good.
So, nice to meet everyone.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good luck. Okay, well, again, thank you, everyone. And we have two basic agenda items that we're going to be dealing with. One is an update of the Public Affairs Division. And the other one is to review, discuss, and take action on the 15-16 strategic objectives for next year. Before we get into that, I just want to know if there's any public comment at this point in time. Seeing and hearing none, we will proceed. Let me start with the Chief of Public Affairs, Rick. Do you want to give us an update at this point?
Thanks, Pastor. Yeah, we will begin on page 151 for the Public Affairs update. And we'll just notice as you see that Ashley has begun here. Today's her first day, so we're throwing her right into the mix, but we're happy to have her here. On the bottom of 151, you see some of the website statistics. Last September is when we relaunched our website. We've been tracking some of the sessions and things. Not a lot of note to bring to the committee's attention at this time. I will note that on page 152, there was a few of the items that we put in red there. What's great about our analytics system is we're able to tell a lot of things about who's on our website, and one of them is you can tell where they are in the world. And just somewhat interesting, and part of this is because of the ongoing problems we've had with web scraping and people harvesting information off our site, but we have a lot of overseas folks using our site, and you can see some of those percentages there. You can also tell when it talks about the browsers that people are using. This helps in our design and our upkeep to get a good idea of who's using our browsers, because they do work a little bit differently. You can see Chrome and Internet Explorer are the two big ones there, and you can see as far as the mobile devices, you can actually break it down by telephones, models, or iPads and the different tablets. At page 153, that's just the growth of our social media. It's been a pretty consistent basis since November of 2010 when we launched our social media. Moving on to 154, the end of our social media updates, as well as our email alerts. Those continue to grow on a fairly steady basis. Page 155, I'll just bring to the committee's attention a couple of the press events that we did since our last meeting. We did host an event on March the 13th. That was to announce the results of the Spring California Blitz. Our SWIFT unit in the Enforcement Division 3 times a year gathers together, and they do multiple simultaneous sting operations during the same week. So we had that happen in March. We did our press event in Madera County, in the city of Madera, and at our press conference we actually had the Madera County District Attorney David Lynn and Steve Frazier, who's the police chief in the city of Madera. They served as our backup, but they were both there present for our press conference, which got a lot of coverage, especially in the Fresno area, which is where Madera is. Then a couple of weeks later, Bakersfield was also one of the locations for the Spring Blitz, and the district attorney's office there, they had a new prosecutor working the consumer cases. He was very excited about the work we were doing and our SWIFT staff is doing in Bakersfield, so he got the Kern County DA, Lisa Green, on board. They held a press conference and they invited us to go down and attend, so I was in Bakersfield on April the 1st, and we had a press conference there as well. Moving on to 156, you just see an update for the publications that are happening. On to 157 is the Senior Scam Stopper seminars, and since our last meeting, we have conducted our 400th seminar. Kreidler's been doing a great job on that. We're very lucky she's actually here in the room today. She's usually out on the road, so it's nice to have Jane with us. But if you have any questions about that, certainly you want to pick Jane's brain. She's here and available to answer those questions. But she's doing a great job with that. Seniors, obviously, a very important part of the consumer groups that we are reaching out to. And then on page 158 is just the update on the intranet. We do have a full intranet site that we have geared towards our 400-plus employees around the state.
Thank you very much, Rick. Jane, would you like to just make some comments on the 400th anniversary, 400th Senior Scam Stopper that you have conducted, and just highlights for the committee? I know I was at the one in Thousand Oaks last week, which went very, very well. The Assemblywoman was there, who was very, very pleased, not only with what the Contractors Board is doing, but really admired that we have put such a great session together in partnership with her office. So maybe you just want to highlight a couple of things there.
Well, I appreciate you going to that one. That was the first one that we had with Assemblymember Jackie Irwin. And so that was important because it was the first one, and they are very nervous at the very first one, and then after that they're fine. But we do have another one with her in May. So they're going well. I have to say last year and this year we were probably doing more with newly elected legislators. We have our older ones that we're always doing it with also. Well-attended people, we get a lot of other speaking engagements out of Senior Scam Stoppers, which is nice. I've scheduled, I believe, 59 so far for this year. I can't remember how many we've done so far, but we've 59 so far, and we'll have, more than that. They're going well. We just brought on a new partner. The National Center on Elder Abuse will be starting to come to them. The Dr. Laura Mosqueda, I don't know if any of you have heard of her. She's well renowned in the field of elder abuse. She'll be at the May 1st one this Friday in San Marino, and they're going to be joining us with additional ones. So it's going well.
And I've noticed on the schedule that you also have congressional offices also wanting to have some of these in their communities, right? Yeah,
some of those are former Senate or Assembly, and they want to keep going. So, even though they're Congress, they want more.
And it's a good opportunity for the legislators because it's an outreach opportunity. There's an average of 50 to 100 people, seniors there who are voters, and they bring us something that they really want to hear, that government is working for you as consumers, as residents. So it's a win-win, and I really applaud the board for really moving in that direction in this particular case. Thank you, Jane, and keep up the good work. Yes?
At one time, we talked about having contractor scam stoppers or other types of scam stoppers that were not just limited to the seniors.
Yes, we had a consumer scam stopper program that we started, and Jane, if you're the expert, you can talk a little bit about that. And we've had struggles here and there with that, finding the audience and being able to get people to actually come see it.
We began the consumer scam stopper. We ramped it up in 2013, the end of 2013, and our focus at first was libraries, and it just really didn't happen. But what we're finding, and I have quite a few scheduled, and we did one last week, and we had 200 people there. What we're finding is we're getting consumer scam stoppers out of the senior scam stoppers. There's groups who want the same presentation, but a shorter presentation, and so it's me. I go and I speak for about 40, 45 minutes, and I'm heavy on the home repair fraud, and then I do a few of the other types of fraud that are out there, and they really like that. So we are invited to a lot of Sons in Retirement groups. That's the one that we did last week, and other civic organizations.
How do we achieve outreach to civic organizations to see if they would be interested in these? I mean, I know we have the protection of the most vulnerable, meaning the elderly, is what, gets a lot of attention and certainly a lot of response from the legislature that we are really pleased to have. But how do we get that kind of outreach?
So far, we've reached out to community centers and libraries, and that's the only formal outreach that we've done. We're revisiting the outreach for this year. We haven't really started anywhere. It's more word of mouth. And we've held, I believe, 3 or 4 this year, and I think I've scheduled a total of 8 through the year for Consumer Scam Stoppers so far. But we do need to outreach to other organizations.
Yeah, John, if I can add to it, we do run into quite frankly, just a staffing situation. We have 6 people in our office, and Jane is the only one doing the outreach. And so the time she puts into senior scam stoppers takes away from this, and time she puts into that takes away from the seniors. So we're trying to find that balance of what we can find. We've made a big effort with the libraries and just found that, it's a challenge to find where you think you might be able to get people to go to hear this. With the seniors, I know a lot of times one of the big things there, a lot of the senior centers do it right around lunchtime. So a lot of those seniors are going to be there for another program or for lunch, and so they're more of a captive audience. We're just finding it much more of a challenge to try to get younger consumers to a place where they're willing to go to come listen to this.
Are we, I know, and Jane has just done a fabulous job, and I look at the number of scam stoppers that you've attended just in a year, or just coming forward. It's just amazing to me. I don't know how you do it, but, kudos to you. What has changed in your mind, or what since you started doing this? What do you think? Well, first of all, do we still partner with other boards, and are we engaging federal representatives as well, like that are dealing with the Social Security issues that we had done when you first started?
You're talking about the senior scam stopper?
Yeah.
We're partnering more with boards. Bureau of Automotive Repair attends many of the senior scam stoppers. We just have partnered more with the Medical Board of California and the Professional Fiduciaries Bureau. It's very difficult to get some boards to participate due to staffing issues. But we are partnering with more boards than we were in the past. What we do is at the end of the year, we send out a brochure and a letter to to legislators, including Congress, and we just say, this is the program that's out there for you, and if you want to participate, contact us. So that's the only advertising we do with them, and it's once a year.
That's great. Thank you.
And also,
Mr. Chair, I have a question on that. I see a range of places you've gone to, especially from here down to San Diego. Is there any interest from here to Oregon border? Just curious. I know there's seniors up there, and
We never see them.
I know.
Sacramento to the Oregon border, not much interest from the legislators.
Oh,
If we could get interest with other groups, we certainly would do it with other groups.
I see.
We don't have to do them with legislators. Of course, that's our intent. But no, there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest.
So the legislature is not.
Yeah, Sacramento up to northern.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
just as a side comment, any more comments? I'm sorry. Just we didn't want to put you on the spot, but since we never see you, we just thought we would invite you, and you gave us a wealth of information. In my experience in consumer protection, I tell you, it's very, very difficult for people to come out and listen to a speech dealing with a problem of their problem in the marketplace. They just don't show up. So you have to really deal with something that's a captive audience. And the seniors are captive audience. And if you have a legislator that will partner with you, I mean, that's an additional plus so you can get the people there to listen. And unfortunately, that's the reality. I've been to numerous sessions where, It's a Saturday, you have everyone together, you have your whole panelists, top-notch speakers, and 5 people show up. Because there's not the captive audience there to do it. So, that's the reality, and we try to work with the reality, and I think the word gets out. From what I see from the stats here, people are looking at our website. They're looking at our information, which is good for us, and that's maybe where we're catching some of the younger generation or some of the millennials that are looking to, they don't want to go listen to someone, they want to see it online or social media or whatever. So that's my 2 cents. Okay. Question: why on page 152, Belarus and Colorado are in red? Is that a reason for that?
As I was going through and preparing this, I just thought those were interesting, so I just kind of wanted to highlight them because, Belarus, in this case, a little bit less than 1%, but the fact is, to my point, you might, if you think about overseas places that are coming to our website, I guess it would, to me at least, it made sense. China, India, those kind of, and Canada, even Russia, but Belarus just kind of stood out. And so they're only highlighted in red just to, it was done by me, not by the analytics. Things that I thought were somewhat interesting.
Yeah, that might be like 10% of their population, maybe. Huh?
Maybe so, but chances are this is probably where one of it may be a place where they've got these server farms or somewhere where they're just some people accessing the internet. There are companies that has servers there, and that's just where they're at.
Server farms, that's interesting comment.
Yeah, you don't need much water for those.
Oh, any other comments?
Yeah.
Any other comments by the committee? Comments by the public? I'm sorry, let's get on to the next item. The strategic plan objectives, I have a couple of comments, and this morning as I was driving from the airport here, I heard the comment, we're going to, a hard scrub and a soft scrub. I think what we're going to do today with our strategic plan and objectives, we're going to give it a soft scrub, because I think we really may be more in a position next year when we have a full day session where we have a facilitator, we have review the mission statement and the objectives and the whole everything, the bells and whistles of a strategic plan. We'll have a more time to really deal with many of the issues here. And one thing that I think in us developing a strategic plan and any of the objectives that we want to consider, which we will consider some that staff has provided for us, I look at the exercise as one where you have strategic objectives and you have operational objectives. The strategic objectives are put together with measurable performance measures, where you're really trying to get the organization to the next level, long-term strategic planning for issues that are impacting the organization, whether there's challenges, whether there's political issues, whether there's customer issues. You're really trying to go to the next level. Operational objectives are more like things that you need to do to make the organization a little bit more efficient, but should be part of the overall plan of the division as it moves forward. There might be common sense things that you have to maybe make a change or tweak something that you're already doing. So in looking at these strategic objectives here that are before us, maybe we might want to differentiate which are operational versus strategic. Because what I see in the list here, there's 10 listed. I mean, that's overwhelming to really try to do all these within a year. So I don't know, Cindy, the other Cindy, I don't know if you had any comments to make or where you want us to go, if you have any comments. If not, we'll just move forward, and I'll have Rick start the process and look at your communication plan first, and then look at the objectives that you have developed. Any comments by any of the committee members? No? Okay, go for it. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
terrific. On page 161, what I did want to provide for the committee's benefit was a copy of our 2015 through 2017 communications plan. This is kind of the 30,000-foot overview of what we do and what our plan is to accomplish over the next couple of years. Then what we're doing here is we're kind of delving into it and trying to come up with some action plans, action items that we want to accomplish for the year. And I think the things that the pastor did bring up, I think as good as we move forward to keep in mind, because there's a lot of things, and a few of the things that we've continued on and suggested to keep on the strategic plan were things that are going to get done anyway, but it maybe doesn't fit into more of the strategic big picture that we may want to look at here. So what I'll do is on page 166, I'll just briefly update you. This was the same page that you saw during the last board meeting. This was an update of the items from our 2014 through 15 strategic plan. And so as you move on to 167, you also saw this in the board meeting packet. This is what we suggested as possible objectives for this year. You'll notice that we were suggesting to continue on the unfinished items from the strategic plan. We'll ask the committee if at this point you even feel that's necessary, since we are going to continue with them anyway, or if it makes more sense to focus on the visionary strategic kinds of things. So on 167, these are the first 6 things you see. Again, that's what we brought up at the meeting in our last board meeting in March. And then what you're seeing as items 7, 8, 9, and 10, these are other items that were either brought to me by other board members as ideas, or other people in the industry or in the board. And we're just putting them out there. We're not saying that we should do everything, that we should do any of it. We wanted to kind of put all of this out there and let the committee kind of give us your feedback. And what I'd like to do is just spend a couple minutes on each one of them and just go through, just to make sure that the committee is familiar with what we're talking about here. On 167, item number 1 is to complete the flagship consumer publication. Here at the board, we've got about 36 different publications that we have. There is a main one called What You Should Know Before You Hire a Contractor. It's been a number of years since this has been updated, and we've been working on this, and whenever other projects come up, it seems that it just keeps pushing it back to the back burner. We're now very close. We estimate, as you can see, as a suggested target date, we hope to have this one done, or at least at the printers, by next month. So we're very close finally, and this has been a long overdue one. And again, this is the flagship publication that has pretty much everything you need to know or want to know when you're hiring a contractor, focused on the consumer. Item number 2 is a proposal for a new publication. Right now, as I mentioned, we have about 36 different publications. A number of them focus on contractors. We have some talking about how to write a contract, some on advertising guidelines, a lot of the different areas. What we want to do is we want to take all those different publications and combine them into one contractor-focused publication. So this, again, was a continuation from this past year's strategic plan, and we're setting a target date for July. That's where we are going to work to meet that date, regardless or not if it's on the final strategic plan. Item number 3 is a new proposal, and so this is something we're very excited to get feedback on. We found that over the years that one of the resources that consumers rely upon, especially if they've purchased a new house or they have friends who are realtors or in that industry, is many times they'll look to realtors to give them a referral to a contractor, or especially when they're purchasing a new house or a newly used house. And we would like to do more to do outreach to the realtors to make sure they're actually giving out good information. We believe that there's a lot of realtors out there that are giving references or giving referrals out to either unlicensed contractors or contractors who may be working out of class. So now that what used to be the Department of Real Estate is now a bureau in the Department of Consumer Affairs, we have begun a relationship with them. We want to do some outreach to the other realtor agencies as well, some of the organizations, and we want to give realtors information and make sure that they're providing good referral information when they deal with their consumers. So we are suggesting that we make this a strategic plan item for the next year. The item number 4 is another continuation. This is a style guide and standards manual. Quite frankly, may not be the best place in a strategic plan. This one's kind of always falls to the back burner. It's something we'd like to do, and Unfortunately, we never seem to be able to get to it because of other things that come up, other more pressing issues. So at some point, we'll need to address whether we want to keep this on a strategic plan or it's something that we want to keep on the back burner, and as we can get to that project, that we will get to that project. That's more of an in-house, making sure that everything the board does follows the same kind of a graphic standard, has the same kind of look and feel, and everything kind of fits together and uniform. Item number 5 is to determine the feasibility of building a full-service broadcast studio. With technology over the last couple of years, the board's really been able to do a lot. You can see we're doing our live web streams ourselves. We've got the audio equipment. We do a lot of media outreach through the internet. We provide interviews that we will upload for stations, so we've been able to use technology to increase our reach. What we would like, in looking ahead, we think it would help make us much more efficient if we actually were able to build a studio that was actually built specifically for this. Some of the equipment that we use does generate quite a bit of heat, and so you have to take HVAC and those kinds of things into consideration, as well as soundproofing and things like that. So we'd like to take a look at the feasibility. We know that the board is coming up upon a new lease, and we're about to begin negotiations for that. So we want to see and work with our admin unit to see if it's feasible to try to include something in the new lease for the building. Item number 6 is we're talking about the room that we're in right now, the John C. Hall hearing room. We want to take a look at the feasibility of updating this room to make it a little bit friendlier for the people who are here for meetings, putting TV monitors up so they'll be able to actually watch the close-up pictures as opposed to sitting back in the cheap seats. Ways to make it a more pleasant experience here in this room. So we wanted to. We hope to get the committee's go ahead if you think this is a good idea for us to take a look, because that's something more long-term that will benefit the use of this room in years to come. The other items, 7 through 10, are again items that were not brought before the committee before, so I'll briefly explain what these are. Item number 7 is to develop a State of California licensed contractor logo. The Contractors Board logo, the house with the paintbrush and the cement truck, that logo is, we do not allow anybody outside of the board to utilize that logo. And sometimes we have to send notes to contractors who try to use that to promote themselves. We're very, very careful about the use of that. But a couple of years ago, we had an idea of maybe something similar to what you see in BBB or some of the other industry groups that have a logo, that this would be specifically done that contractors would use to promote themselves as being a licensed contractor. So we had developed a couple prototypes, have not brought them back to the board, but I did have a board member ask if thought that would be a good idea for us to bring that back and see if we can get some traction with that. And so that's what the thought is right now, to develop this logo that can be used by contractors to promote the fact that they are licensed on the sides of their vehicles, in their ads, something more than just the number of which they're required by law to use now. Item number 8 has also been on past strategic plans. This is something that we've wanted to do for a number of years. Right now, when we do our outreach, the only thing that we can tell consumers is you can come to our website or you can call our 800 number and you can check the status of a contractor's license. We don't give them a starting point. If they say, well, how do I find a contractor to begin with? We pretty much tell them they'll need to, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your family, look at ads, and then when you identify some, then come to us and check them out. What this would do is this would be a feature that we would offer to our licensees, and they would opt in for it, and we would create criteria that people could use. Let's say they're in Sacramento and they want to find a plumber. So we would allow them to look for all plumbers, let's say, within 10 miles of Sacramento in that classification. The contractors who have agreed and have opted in to be part of this search feature would then, as long as their license is in active status and in good standing, they would then show up as part of that search when somebody's actually looking for a C36 contractor. It would be a randomly generated list, so the AAAA plumbing wouldn't show up first on everybody's search list. That would all be done randomly. And we think that would be, in many ways, a real game changer, because we could go beyond just saying, come to us when you find somebody. We could actually give them a starting place. Technology, and we're not going to go back into the world of Breeze and all the other things, but we're tight with staff like everybody else is, and it's just one of these things where we have so many different computer systems and things we've been responsible for doing here. We've just really never been able to make this happen, and again, we've wanted to do this for years, and we would like to, now that we've got the new website launched, and hopefully we can come up with some kind of a schedule to try to move that program forward. Item number 9 is a feasibility of developing a mobile web app. We visited this also a couple years ago. Our new website is optimized for use on tablets and smartphones. So if you come to our website on your phone, on your tablet, it's already optimized. You don't need to worry about that. But the reason we brought this forward is just so we would, keep out there. Technology is changing so quickly. We just want to be on top of things. If we think there actually is a reason to do an app or some opportunity that presents itself, that we want to just keep asking ourselves that, so we don't just automatically say, no, our website's okay for that, people will be fine. There may very well be some good reasons, whether it be at some point licensees can have some kind of app where they could do updates on their license at some point if we can get to that, get reminders about when their license is expiring. There could be things out there. So this item is there because we would just like to keep asking the question just so we don't fall behind times if an opportunity is out there. And item number 10, again, sorry to say we keep pushing these things down. With our website, we do have this rich site summary. We have never been able to focus on creating specific content, but as I understand it, and Cindy or anybody else, or Raishu I see in the back with more of the technical knowledge, as I understand it, we can create content that industry groups or even our contractors can automatically place on their website. So when we update information, it will automatically go into their website if they code it that way. We've never specifically gone and tried to develop copy or to promote that with our contractors, but we think that would be something that would be a good benefit and not a lot of work on the contractors or the industry group's behalf, whether it be anything from our industry bulletins to specific things about how to hire a contractor. There's a whole bunch of ideas out there about what we could do. So that idea is to develop some kind of features and try to promote that within our licensees and industry groups. So that's kind of the 10 that we've come up with. We're certainly open to any ideas that the committee has, to get feedback on any of these, and to find out how the committee would like us to move forward.
Well, thank you very much for your summary and for the information that you've provided on each of these 10 objectives before us. Just a quick question before I open up for questions for the committee. I know your staffing is limited, and each of these require, I would think, a lot of work if you're going to finish some of these by December. And the others, 7 through 10, there isn't a plan as to when you might deliver them. But, and I say that because last year there were a total of 9 objectives. 3 were completed, 3 were delayed, and 3 were pending or not necessary. So I just want you to consider your staffing needs to do these, and maybe we might narrow these down a bit. But before we actually do that, maybe I'd like to have some input from the committee members here.
I have a comment on, a couple of things. On number, I think it was 9, the idea of making it easier for consumers to access contractors through the website. Is that what you were talking about?
Number 8, yes.
Number 8.
Yeah, number 8,
Yeah. Terrific. What other ideas do you have besides, the locating contractors within a specific region to that?
Well, for that feature, that's the main one, and I didn't mention too, but part of the problem and why we want to make this an opt-in feature is when we brought the ideas up a few years ago, I think it was maybe in Breaker Phil or some of the people in the industry came to us on one hand and said that, well, actually there's a lot of contractors who do public works, who don't necessarily deal with the public consumers, and so they were concerned that they were all of a sudden going to start getting a bunch of phone calls if they showed up in searches. The other thing is the address of record that we have for contractors is one physical location. So if I am a contractor here in Sacramento, but if I have offices around the state, I would only come up in searches in the Sacramento area. So what we would enable them to do is to tell us what by counties, or however we determine it to be done, what counties you want to be included, that you do work in, that you want to be included in those searches.
Would there be a way to define like areas of expertise or anything like that? Let's say a contractor that did residential but does tract homes versus remodels versus.
Some of that, I think, quite honestly, we'd have to figure out how much we do this sticking strictly to the license and how much we let them go beyond that, because I know we want to always be careful about that line about seeing and endorsing them and making them more advertising, but just we want to stick with the fact is that they're licensed and these are the areas they work in. So the consumer would then see them all equal as far as that.
And with regard to the logo that we had talked about, would there be a way of tying those two things together? In terms of that, what was that?
Yeah, look for the logo.
Yeah.
That individual contractor have that. That's been something we've talked about almost since I've been on the board since '06. It's something that technology never caught up. I mean, when I first got here, they were practically using stone tablets and chisels, like the Flintstones. I couldn't believe it. Some of the computer systems were so old. So, the way where it's come to today is just leaps and bounds, and I know Rick's been really pushing hard for that, and Steve Sands before was really helpful with that too, and I know that Cindy's continuing that. But some of these things are going to be intertied, because if you absolutely get it on the web where they can search it, and it is totally randomized, we have to make sure that everybody's aware that how the randomization works. Make sure that there's a way to check it. Make sure it's completely random, because people will complain if they think somebody else is being advantaged. The other thing is, if you're using the web app, that would be something that could be developed, I think, in conjunction, to where if a consumer needed something and they have their smart device with them, they could look up a contractor right away. Say a contractor, that comes out, they've looked at 3 and they don't like any of those 3, they can just zap it in through there and only give you 3 more, which would be smart. If people would do that, maybe, we could not have quite so much, problems in the state when it comes to that. But when all that technology marries together with our website and with this feed too, that's, embedded code that when you upload the change to the website in our website, our web domain, everybody else who has a link to that, it automatically updates on their page. So if it's like a bulletin, an industry bulletin, if they have it on different contractor, organizations' websites, it'll automatically update. They won't have to do a thing about it. It's everything we put up, so that we have total control. So that's something that'd be a very, very good tool over a lot of broadband spectrum that'd help, and a lot of different platforms too. So.
Absolutely. Nancy?
Yes, I think it's a great idea having the find a contractor. However, I would think we would have to be very clear we're not giving out referrals, that this is just a list of local licensed contractors in good standing with the board, because that'll be key. We do get, in the building department, we get a lot of requests for, can you refer us to a local contractor for this, that, and we don't give out referrals. We refer them to the local contract exchange. They have a book in our office, and we recommend they check the license and all. So I think that would be important, that whenever you do that, it'd be a great tool to have to show the licensed ones, but just making it very clear that we're not referring them. And then I agree that the mobile app, that would be a way to implement some of these. That's kind of what I'm trying to figure out for our own office to use. If a lot of people just want to use the phone these days, we even find that just for inspection requests, that they're just going the phone, they don't even want to use a telephone, physical phone or anything like that. They just want to press an app and schedule that way. So I think if you can tie some of these features into a simplified app that doesn't have a lot of the website stuff, but just certain key elements on an app, that would be great.
Pastor,
Go ahead.
For those of you who haven't looked at you use your smartphone or device to look at the CSLB website, it's very optimized for that, and it's very simple, it's very easy to use. There was a lot of thought process put into that, and it works tremendously well. I'm very, very proud to say that, I hammered on a little bit of that. I want to make sure that was, because simple is a lot better. I mean, I know we have to follow the state's design for our web page, but I mean, I'd love to see it even simpler, Because most people, they want to go in, get the information, and get out. They're on, everybody's in a hurry, rush, hurry, hurry. Well, if we're holding them up and they have, wow, search around, to heck with this, and they stop, then they run off and have a problem. So, I mean, anything we can do to make it simpler, easier. I mean, for myself too, because, I'm getting older and it's hard to read stuff. I mean, you're looking at the little type, you're like, what the heck? These glasses used to work, But I mean, all in all, I mean, I think we've done a fantastic job, patting us all on the back. But, it's something that I know that this board, since I've been here, has looked at and really made a concerted effort to make sure everything was correct, that it was in the best interest of the consumers. And I think that that's ultimately the goal here. And I really appreciate it, Rick. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, well, a couple points. With respect to the looking up the license or the searching for the available licensed contractor, it would need to be, in my opinion, linked to their status, because it's not just if they're available in the area, but what their status is, and that means are they current, active, and unrestricted, because the law does not recognize good standing. It's current, active, or unrestricted. And if there's a restriction on the license, that information should be included as part of the search.
Yeah.
So we definitely would need to do that under B&P Code Section 27.
Okay.
So-
Absolutely. And that was one of the criteria. If for some reason somebody had a suspended license or something doing the things, that would then remove them from the searches. They would only show up if they have an active license. And
Right.
whatever the
But,
terminology is, so.
They could have an active license, but it could be on probation. So my point is, the person who's doing the search would need to have that information in addition to just they're there in that location in order to meet our Section 27 requirements for reporting statuses of contractors on the website. I mean, yeah, there's another Verify License website link they could click on, but I think most people, like you were saying, they'd want to go one-stop shop. They don't want to have to click on a bunch of different things. So if there's going to be this search feature, it should have built into it the person's license status and enforcement history with the board.
Absolutely, and that was one of the key things. And as far as we're looking at for the strategic plan, you can see there it says we're developing a schedule for developing.
Okay.
And so I think
Right.
once we get in, if we get with the approval, once we get into that, all that stuff, and we'll be very careful, because we see that as the big thing. I mean, we also see it as a way for the contractors to be able to promote themselves and tell people to go search there. It's not like Craigslist where you're going to be side by side with the
Okay.
unlicensed people. The only people that would come up on here, and it would all be based on the license status.
Okay. The other thing, item 7, the reason why the board can't allow the sharing of the logo is because it's illegal under California law for anyone to use a state logo, seal, or anything using it in advertising. So I'm not sure you'd be able to do this. I'd have to look at it further, but it's in the areas in the Unfair Business Practices Act laws that it says that, no one may advertise using the state seal, logos, and et cetera, in implying endorsement of that particular business. And so I don't know if you'd run afoul of that law by doing something like this. I'd have to look at it further, but definitely we need to have to stay away from that. And I think you've got to be very careful in developing a product for other people to use that may run afoul of that law and maybe open you up to liability from the consumers if people are using that or misusing that logo. So I think there needs to be a little bit more research on this, but I am aware that it's illegal for someone to use your logo, period. It violates California law. So whether you could develop something for somebody else to use could be a problem with a gift of state funds. I don't know. So we'll look into those issues, but I think that one needs a little bit further research. That's just my recommendation.
Sure. Thank you.
I think 3 objectives would be enough to keep your staff busy 150% of the time. I thank you for your comments on 8 and 9, and because I do think that that's probably objectives that really will move the organization forward, and we're really into trying to use the technology as best we can. And of course, we want to keep the IT folks busy also. They're a good partner with us, and we want to keep them happy. based on this discussion, would you want to say that we kind of gear it down to maybe 4 or 6 of them? I mean, I have some suggestions which ones. I mean, I don't know if you have to recommend some, so we don't, because 10 is going to be overwhelming.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And what we tried to do when we came up with this list, if you look very closely at the wording we use, we tried to temper it. Like for item number 8, is we're just saying develop a schedule. We're not saying in the next year we are going to develop this opt-in feature. The first step we want to do is we want to address questions, and it was great that things that Christy brought up, because we can come up with a schedule. We can see if this even makes sense for the logo. I mean, developing that was an extra step ahead. But and item number 9 is determine the feasibility. Even moving up to the earlier ones on number 5 and 6, we're saying at this point we just want to determine the feasibility. Is this something that can be done? So I would just saying we're trying to temper this, and we're not saying that all these things are going to get completed in the next year. At this early point, we just want to look at if this is something that makes sense and something that we can accomplish.
I'd like to comment. I always think it's best to shoot for the stars and hit the moon. So, I mean, what they can get done on this is, to my way of thinking, is it's incentive to get that done. When you start taking things away from a plan, and Rick outlined pretty much what he'd already had in mind, I think it's a good way to go. Some of the comments have been made here today, too, are going to be helpful going forward to make sure that things are put in the proper perspective, and, as they're completed, then we can tick them off and then revisit them later if need be.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I don't want to sound like the Grinch that stole Christmas, but, and I'm all for technology, but I'm just kind of wondering, I'm not sure that I see the point of updating this room, and I would want to know what kind of money we're talking about. I don't know if that screen drops down. Is it something that we use to do what it is that you're proposing? I love our new system that you guys have finally got, working really well for us in terms of getting out. And I just saw the camera turn towards me, that it does that 360 around the room to get out to the public and to the consumer and to other boards and bureaus and whoever, departments. And so, I'm not sure how valuable would that be. We've held stakeholder meetings here, and we've had educational types of things that I think you've screened for. What would be the function of this other equipment that you're talking about?
Well, at this point, again, that's just determine the feasibility. What would the cost be to do that? We would love, obviously we come in with our equipment and we purchase it specifically so we could travel and take it out to our meetings. But at some point, because the cost is coming down, maybe it would make more sense. And from a time standpoint, if we actually had some permanent cameras in here that we didn't have to take, set up and spend, a few hours, setting up and tearing down every time we had meetings, because we do a lot more meetings than we used to. So it's just looking at the feasibility. Does it make sense? How much would it cost? Now that flat screen monitors are fairly cheap, we've got this thing, and people in the back could then just have a better experience here. But absolutely, that one definitely falls into doesn't necessarily have to be done. We're just seeing because we can certainly do it with what we have now, and it's just the question is it feasible to do more? But the thing is, too, and I want to point out, is we're not married to any single one of these. I mean, part of it is we wanted to throw as much out there as we thought and get everybody's feedback. I'm perfectly fine with any of these. Well, maybe I'm not fine with some of them saying no to, but certainly that would be some of the lower priority things. Yeah.
Nancy.
I'm with Bob here, that I think that these are great goals. It's good to have them on the work plan. You mentioned that some of these are not like a lot of in-depth work. They're just checking certain things out. I think it's great to have great goals like this, and I say try to leave them on there if we can. We can reevaluate later.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I agree also. I like to stretch, and I think that having an idea of saying this is going to be finished by 2015, may want to go into 2016, because I see that you've already overlapped some of the years here, at least some of the months. And the only thing different on the last 4 items is that we don't have a target date. With a target date, you can fill it up in the next 6 months. So I think this is great. I think it's good to shoot for. And if we, and I'm assuming we're going to approve this, is that when we go to the board, it could be tweaked a little bit and have your target dates in there. I think it's good to shoot for, because you're looking for, is it feasible? If it's not feasible, we won't go for it. Thank you.
I guess the question I would have, and whatever the will of the committee is, one of the things I guess I'll ask Cindy, the top Cindy, is Rick performance evaluation and his staff based on their commitment to reach the target date on these 10 strategic objectives?
You mean,
I mean, if he gives the committee, the board approves, 10 strategic objectives. He has a target date. If he doesn't meet it, does he get penalized?
no.
As far as his evaluation?
I mean, as far as, he's putting in his best effort and everything, which he always does, but I mean, things do happen. Like we, lost our one of the information officers. That took us a while to recruit, our graphic designer. So all of those things are taken into account whenever we do performance evaluations, and I'm sure Rick does the same thing for his staff. So they're just goals. They can be moved.
Okay, well, I've been used to, and I don't know if any of you have strategic plans in your own organizations or offices, but usually the performance evaluation and the strategic plan is tied to your performance. And that's why they get done, and sometimes they don't get done. So that was the reason for my question. I mean, if the will of the committee is to keep the 10, fine. I mean, to me, I look at things more practical. I mean, let's be realistic. What can we look for? Not lose these as objectives, but keep those in the back burner. If 1 and 2 are going to be completed the beginning of July and May, I mean, that's already, these are from July 1st to June of next year, right?
Yes.
So therefore, number 1 and number 2 should be completed by the end of the fiscal year. I mean, by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 2015.
Yeah, number 2 may not quite make it, but it will be hopefully, certainly this summer.
This summer. So do I have a motion from the committee?
I move that Mr. Chair, I move that the strategic plan for 2015 and 16 presented by the information chief be accepted and revised as necessary.
Okay, so we have a motion on the board, before the board. All those in favor say aye.
No, we got roll call.
Oh, do a roll call. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any public comment? Okay. Okay, let me call no public comment?
Okay, I can call roll.
Okay.
Pastor Herrera,
Aye.
Joan Hancock, Bob Lamb, Ed Lang,
Aye.
Nancy Springer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Do I have a roll call? No. Thank you very much.